Hi, in this video I will demonstrate the basic functionality of DiStellar because now we are going into public beta, so you can contribute by providing your feedback and comments, but let me show you just briefly how does it look like. So you go to DiStellar.DiRoots.com or DiStellar.com, any of these domains will work, and you will see this landing page where you can actually create account. It's very simple, it's free and so on. You provide the minimum or basic information like first, last name, email, some passwords, and you fill the caption. Okay, so I will go to landing page and I can now sign in. Let's suppose I received the email, I authenticated through my email and so on. You follow the steps, it's very simple steps. So age to R, okay, and I will keep remember me just so I be like almost always logged in and sign in. So what do we see here is a basic interface of DiStellar. At this stage, you can change to light or dark theme. We will see some visual implications, how you can set up to maybe be custom tailored towards your visual needs and likeness. So what do you see? Is a viewer. This is part where we'll visualize the IFC model. Okay. This is a part where your account information is. You can add, for example, on my profile, your profile image, change some information here, or even if you delete account, it will delete all references over you in any of the databases. So you will disappear from the DiRoots servers completely and without any history. All the history will be removed. So you have this flexibility in case you really want that. So we hope you will stay on the platform, and you see application preferences, sign out, and some useful hyperlinks here, okay? But the other big parts are here. These are set of commands that some of these have like a pretty big, let me see, some big commands and functionalities that are very useful in, reviewing the IFC models, controlling, dimensioning things, finding information, for example, filtering, and all sorts of different commands. So this is the important set of commands. And there is one general like search input that you can use. And it works in very simple manner. You select which model you want to operate, which IFC categories, and what is the rule for your text to be found in some of the parameters attached to the elements in IFC models. So we will see all of these in detail, of course, but let's now see the most important button. So add new models. Let's click this one. Let's select some model. For example, I will go here and I will select medical dental clinic, and I will pick, I don't know, structural phase. Let's say that we are interested in the structural phase of the model, and give it a second. So you see it's completing. It will take like a few seconds to load, and you see a few interesting things. You can remove, unload from your scene, and you can download, export your IFC model. So the other thing that you might notice is that the colors were IFC materials, but now they are overridden with these grayish colors. I will show you how to control this in DiStellar. And why is this button important? Because this command will show you always that you can unload some models, or you can export them, or you can load more by drag and drop, or just simply clicking here and loading, for example, I don't know, electrical phase, let's say. So we have at least two models to play around. Keep in mind that very high levels of detail in terms of geometry will make DiStellar slightly slower, less responsive. We are inside the web browser, we are not on a desktop where we can squeeze every single performance from the metal or from the processing unit and use the all hardware resources. But we reach some significant degree in which we can use DiStellar to review models very nicely. So let's see, this one is in process of loading, and it's loaded. So what we can do, we can unload models that we don't need, or we can just leave both here. The one point that I immediately want to say is we by default support English and Portuguese at this stage languages, so you can easily switch to Portuguese and you see the text changes, tooltips changes, and so on. This list will be populated with more languages along the way while we're developing application, and community can contribute to help us to translate as much as we can. So let's see the first couple of things about the model. The first visual implications are how do we rotate model? We are pressing the left click button on the mouse on somewhere on the empty space, and we are just holding and moving left, right, top, down, and so on. So it's all controls are on the mouse. You don't need keyboard to navigate the model. Pressing right click somewhere on the space will pan, and using the mouse wheel will zoom out. So you have all rotate, zoom, pan, and so on options, so you can easily navigate and see your model. Okay, let's address the second one. Second one is what kind of materials we are showing. Let's go to application preferences, and before anything else, I will tell you that whatever you change here, and when you close, it will be saved for your account. So next time you open DiStellar, it will use the preferences that you really like to use. For example, in case you really like to use this red color, which doesn't really very well visually works with a dark theme, but might be that works well with a light theme, you can use. So what we can do, we can remove the override material and use the materials that are actually in the IFC model, or of course we can override them. I personally, for these purposes of demo, will keep override materials, but you decide. Also, you can pick any custom color that you like. Even you can play around, for example, with transparency. For example, if I say like roughly 30% transparent, I will see this kind of information visually, right? So I can see probably some details inside the building and so on. It's very useful. So keep in mind that you have this flexibility to show the transparency. If you want completely opaque, you zero out transparency, and that's it. Controlling the background is very easy. We have two different modes. Either you go with a solid color or a gradient color. I will this time go with a gradient color because personally it sticks out better for me while I'm reviewing the model. So it looks something like this. And for dark theme, we selected these colors, but it's a gradient of consisting of two colors. So you can set the top color and the bottom color, and the rest will be filled by DiStellar. So in case you like different other than these gradient colors, all good, please use them. The other visual setting that you can do beside backgrounds is control the edges, color of the edges. These edges by default are coming like this. So when we close, it will take an effect, you see. But if we go to application preferences and we go to edges, oh sorry, I didn't store, yeah. So if I go to edges, yeah, we'll need to fix this small bug. But you can control the edges, the color of the edges, and the softness is like a sensitivity. How much edges you want actually, how sensitive they are to changes in geometry and these kind of things. You can also turn on the grids, and for example, in my case, they are turned off, but chances are that you would like to see grid, and you can control how many grids you have. And we make a differentiation between the major and the minor grids. So you can set the color, and the size is like a cell size of the grids. And major grids you can divide with minor, and you can set each major divide like, I don't know, 5 times, let's say. Gizmos are actually, we don't see them now, and I will close a bit, but you will see origin Gizmo is here. And it shows like this RGB, red, green, blue, XYZ colors. So what we can do, we can, for these gizmos, we can turn off particular axes. I like to keep them honestly to orient myself and model towards the origin. In case you like to geek out a bit, we can show the statistics, so you can see like a number of frames per second, or you can see how much memory consumption there are. Chances are you don't care about this stuff. That's something we personally care. And the dimensions will make sense slightly a bit later when we start showing the dimensions here in the viewer. Okay, so without further ado, these are the graphics settings. There is a combination of these that you can do to custom tailor to what you need. That's it. In the next section, we will explore data attached to these IFC models. And in this video, we will demonstrate a few workflows to see how you can inspect the data attached to IFC models. Notice that I'm saying in plural, it's IFC models. So let's go here and see that we can identify that we have two HVAC and one electrical IFC model that combined look like this. Okay, so what you will notice is the first thing, we can toggle the model tree and we can search for example, electric, or maybe flow. For example, something related to the flow, it will find the information. It will, if you type enter, it will select here. That's an interesting one. But also notice that we have three view, but with two models, and we have these small labels that represent, is it a project, is it IFC category, or so on. So these kind of informations we have here. Okay, we can collapse the model tree. The other option that we can do is we can, for example, unload the electrical model, and we can see only HVAC model, which looks something like this. The second thing that we can do, for example, we can open the model tree, we can select something here, and it will navigate and find here in a tree view. Or we can go through tree view and select elements, and it will automatically like a focus camera on them. So you see that this element here is highlighted. That's also very interesting. And on top of that, if we collapse that tree, we want to see properties of some element that we found. If you click properties, it will open the tree view plus properties. So whatever I select here, we will see the properties with information, parameter versus value grouped onto some grouping, and list goes on, right? So in a nice user-friendly way, you can collapse these sections, for example, if you don't like to see some, or you have a lot of data attached to some elements. Now, the key point will be something like this. To close this one, I already mentioned that we can type as an example flow, select, and we can see selection here. The second thing that we can do is we can type here, we can pick which models we want to process, which rule we will use. For example, we will use contains a part of the text that we will write, but you see ends with equal and starts with. And then also we can see, for example, which IFC categories we want to target. For example, let's see, let's tackle all. Let's basically target everything, and you see it's adding these cards. Okay, so it's a very useful, helpful visually, at least, to inspect. And then we can see that that we can type, for example, for mark parameter to be 152, and all that have like a number 52 somewhere in their values, it will identify them. And the best part is, if you click on a site, you notice that this search bar is collapsed, okay? And we can navigate the model, but all the configuration is there. So we can just click search, and it already knows that we selected this model, rule value will be contains, and all of these categories that we targeted. We can do many workflows by finding information, just roughly finding information using the search bar, okay? So how we will reset like this, and you also noticed if you don't type anything, it will select everything. Sometimes it's useful to select everything, so this is one way you can do, just remove all of these things. And there is one hidden feature that kind of I will show you now. So if you want to select, regardless of the value, you don't targeting directly to type something in the search. You can do something like this. You select on which models you want to find. Role contains is also fine. But here, for example, I want to find all the fittings. So IFC flow fitting, that's something I'm interested in. And you see what I can do. I removed all, and I have in this model find the IFC flow fittings. Okay, so what I can do with this rule, I can just type here and I will find all IFC fittings. What else we can do is pretty interesting, because now we can isolate those elements, click aside, and we see every single fitting in this IFC bottle. So we can inspect them, we can select them, see the values in properties and so on. Okay, but there is much more than that. So if I unisolate, it means that we can do something pretty interesting like this. We can again click select. We will select all IFC fittings, but we can this time use highlight. Highlight is very similar to isolate, but if you click, it will show all other elements transparent except the ones that you selected. So you see that these are transparent. I cannot hover, I cannot select them. They are kind of locked, but they give some context where these fittings are in the context of the building or in geometrical sense, in 3D sense. How do you close? You just click this X button and that's it. It's pretty simple and straightforward. So on regards to the next section of features, one super simple, super useful. Let's say that we like these fittings. Let's say that we, for example, I don't know, highlight these fittings. Okay, we click aside, and what we can do, we can take a snapshot. Click here, take a snapshot. It's downloaded. Let me open to show you. And it looks something like this. So these images you can share using email, I don't know, wherever you want to communicate something, and you can write some stuff on them and so on. But the key point is you can take these snapshots very easily. You just orient your camera, do whatever you want, make selections, and just click a snapshot and download the image. It will go in your downloads folder, most definitely, or default download location of your web browser. That's better to say. Okay, how else we can see the model? Well, let's see. We are now in the perspective view, but of course we can see in isometric, and for us Revit users, I must say that it looks more familiarized to us because we very often visualize things in isometric view, so no perspective distortion towards the edges. Perspective means perspective, right? It's pretty clear, and you can see model from top, from, I don't know, bottom, left side, and the list goes on. So from the front view, it looks something like this, but we can always go outside and start rotating, and we will go back into 3D. Let me reset to preferences, because that one is something we'll very often use, honestly, maybe even through the rest of the videos. So what else we can do? You're constantly saying, Marco, what else we can do? Well, we can do a lot of different things. One of these things is that we can, for example, select elements in other ways. So let me show you. I will select this air, I believe this is air terminal, if I'm not wrong. So we can go to select and select by type. We selected all air terminals because this element that we selected was of the type air terminal. We can select also by picking one element, select by category. They are all of the same category. In some cases, you will see, depending on IFC scheme and from which software you are exporting, it might be chances that these elements look very similar, but they are not of the same category and so on. So it will make more sense. And if I say select, for example, I believe this is a duct, select by material, tells me that all of these have very similar or exactly same material. Probably because we override the material with a default one, so probably we should go to application preferences, change the material to not be overridden, to use the real ones from IFC, and then we will select elements by material. So these are three kind of simple, useful shortcuts for selecting elements based on one pre-selected element and finding some all other that have like a same type, same category, or same material. So 3 options on your disposal, and you can play around with those. So in the next chapter, we will explore a bit more how we can again visualize the model. So bear with me, it's a pretty simple few concepts, but extremely useful in your day-to-day work. So see you soon. Bye. Hi, in this video we will show again some kind of visualization techniques. I'm just loading the Revit sample model. As I just said, the Revit sample model, everybody knows for this one. So yeah, we can see that model. Let me turn off the grid because it's kind of obscuring a bit the model in the background. So let's show grids. No, don't show the grids. And I'm again using this grayish color to represent the model. In case you forgot, you can always go to materials and turn off these overrides and actually see the model, how it's exported from the Revit or any other DC application. So what we can do is a one important workflow that we support in, for example, in a DiStellar. It is here. So 3D one, you know probably for DiRoots sheet link part of DiRoots 1. Well, actually you can treat this one as a light version of sheet link that we will expand on this idea. Basically tells you that DiStellar is more than just a IFC viewer. You can alter the data using bridge towards the Excel. So you strip down data from the model, export to Excel. Let me export, and you can modify data in Excel, bring back to update the model. So before I proceed, you saw that I went here, use this command and use the option to export. Okay, and I see that I have one model loaded. In case I have more, I will see more models, of course. I have selections mode. If I selected something, only those elements will be exported to the Excel. But let me show you one small detail that we added just recently, honestly. So if I select, let's care about walls. For now, let's see that we are interested in the walls, okay? And we have here options, right? We have parameters. So what do we have? Type, IFC wall, and so on. But you see this small Excel icon. And if you see tooltip, it says that it is editable in Excel. Not all parameters are editable. Some are considered to be read-only, okay? And why is that interesting? Because whenever you see properties and visually, you can identify, oh, okay, I can edit this through the Excel workflow. That's fine. Let's do that. But for now, let's go and close these properties, okay? And let's say that we want to, go to export to Excel. And we don't want to export all the elements. We care about walls at this stage. So we pick IFC wall as an example. And what we can do, we can click export. It will read IFC model, find the information, assemble the Excel template. It's a very structured data. On a first look, you will see it looks and feels like a sheet link, in case you are familiarized. So you know the very well famous template that we're using for Excel, even the colors and everything. And you see that there is some information. All of this information is the one that is marked with the Excel file here in the properties. So it means that I can edit whatever is not grayed out. It means it should be editable. Some of these, they don't really make sense to be editable, but technically, theoretically, they are. For example, global ID, I don't know why would you change global ID. You don't care about this stuff. It's just some unique string, yeah, here. But some other information you might, for example, edit. I will pick one probably pretty silly example, but I will say that thermal transmittance is 9999, okay? For all of these here elements that I can edit. It's a silly value, I know, but you will probably have the right information. And let's say that all walls are, for example, instead of almost all being external, they will be considered to be internal. So I will type false because it asked me to type either true or false, right? And what I can do now, Control S to save, or use this button. And let's see, is our kind of workflow, can we alter the data actually? So we can import the Excel file, okay, import file. We load from my downloads, of course, and this is probably the latest one. Says imported successfully with toaster messages. And let's review. Let's see, is it actually imported successfully? So what we can do, we can open the properties. Let's select this wall, and let's confirm the thermal transmittance. Okay, so thermal transmittance is 9999, and let's say that is external is always false. Okay, we will confirm for all walls, but for now let's pick and see something like this. We can open the filter, and filter is a new tool, new concept that we will introduce and speak now. So for example, what we care about, which model we have, on which model we will make a search, which categories we care about walls, we spoke about that. Okay, so let's pick as a category IFC models. This is like a Revit category, is just IFC categories, right? So it says walls. Okay, and let's say external IFC walls. I will pick some really silly name here, but filter, and I will mark it as a filter. I will say it's a filter. Okay, so where we are looking in is external, so that's our parameter that we are looking. And what is the rule? Equals, because it's a true false. If it's a number, you will see much more options here. Okay, so what I will type false, and then I will click select, and it will select, and we can say that all of these IFC walls are now considered to be external, because is external is false. But also what you will notice, two things. First, I can save filter, and it's safe for my later use. If I now close Chrome web browser and so on, and I come tomorrow, this filter is one on the list that will stay. How do I reuse? I reset filter like this, so you see none is selected. I can, next time I open the IFC model, and let's do that. So when I say hard reset, what we can do, we can approach like this. First, because we modified some information on this IFC model, we can download, export this IFC model. And I use the word download. Actually, this file is not even uploaded. So it's on your machine, in your web browser. DiStellar is just an application to run in your web browser. And whenever you upload the IFC model, upload quote unquote, it's actually on your machine. It's just loaded in the web browser, but it's not stored at any point in time in DiRoots servers. None of this information except these preferences, which kind of filters you want to use, which kind of background information, color you use, and so on, which theme you like, and so on. But none of the sensitive information is ever at any point in time stored on our server. So that is one of the key points. That's why we don't even provide the storage for DiStellar. We ask you to load from your machine. Okay, so what we did here, we exported modified IFC model because we changed some values. I will now do the hard reset. Hard reset, I mean Ctrl-Shift-R, completely refresh the page, totally remove everything, like there was nothing. It reloads, and I will now load that file that I exported from downloads. You see, this one. Give it a second, it should be very fast, and you will see pieces, how they are start appearing here, and actually loading the model. And then we will do some exercise in confirming that filters we saved are actually working. So how we can do that? We click on the filters, maybe we open also properties just in case we like to see the properties of selected elements. Let's select this one or even remove. And then let's pick external IFC walls filter, one that we created, and select elements. The first thing it's here, so it means it's saved to your account, okay? And it's a recipe for finding elements. That's in a nutshell what it is. So you see the structure. It says filters. It asks you to select model. Then in model, I ask you to select categories. Then what kind of filter you want. Like it asks you for a name of filter, which parameter you are targeting, what's the logical rule, and what's the value you are after. And then you can reset filter, save, or select elements. But also notice that these elements are highlighted, and it means that we can totally close this selection and we can select and inspect one by one. So you see how I'm checking and they become selected because we found them, right? And they are of category IFC. So these filters is something that will be very useful for you, and especially if you deal with very consistent parameter names and values inside and you want to check something. Feel free, create as much as you want these filters, store them on your account, so more you create, more faster you will be next time because you will just reuse the content. So that is basically it. If I close the filters, close the properties, close the tree navigation, that is what we have with filters. And of course we can always use isolate command to isolate those, or even we can use this to highlight elements. The other small features that I will just pick now quickly is one related to floor plans. So if I see the click floor plans, DiStellar will figure out what are the floor plans that exist in this IFC model. This feature only works if you have only one IFC model loaded because of some it doesn't matter, it works only if one IFC model. So for example, level 1, if I take a look, I can click like this. It shows material places to be white and edges to be black, so it can look like it's drawing, right? And for example, we can change these to be, for example, I don't know, site as an example is interesting one because we look completely top down. And yeah, that's basically it. We can go to perspective and go back in our original 3D view state. Some other very useful ones that I personally find useful while we are developing the tools and we play around with the different IFC models is a simple concept. Have a section plane, right? So we are in 3D, and basically we have three commands here. The most important one is create from face, means create a section plane from face. So ask you to pick a face, okay? So if I pick this to be a face, and I select, you will see that we have these blue lines, so we can play around with it, and of course cut the model. Now, what we can do with this, we can add more cut planes. So let's push this one to be somewhere, let's say here. And we can introduce some really strange concept, like let's pick this one to be also cut plane, because we pick this face, it's oriented towards this face, and we can cut model in some really interesting ways, so we can visualize some information inside, okay? And if we kind of need to see all model at once, what we will do, we will deactivate the section planes, okay? But I just said deactivated. It means that they all exist. It's remembered here, okay, in this session installer. So you can always turn on, turn off, right? But in case you don't really need them anymore, you totally want to reset them and remove them, just remove all planes. And the next time you will need to create a new section planes because the previous ones are virtually deleted. So this one is turn off, turn on, turn on, turn off. This one is completely removed, and this one is the most important. Will ask you to pick a face with your mouse, orthogonal to which we will, parallel to which we will place the section plane, and you can use these blue gizmos or arrows to kind of move the section plane and cut the model. Now, The interesting one, and maybe one of the last kind of potentially very useful commands, is this. It's kind of measure tools. So measure tools is doing something like this. You can represent graphically point coordinates, then you can measure distances and show graphically here between 2 points. You can show the edge length and the edge to point distance. So let's try all. Let's go with I will zoom in a bit just because I'm too far away, and let's say that we care about, for some reason, about these top points here. So what we can do, we can use point coordinates. We can click here and we can see the point coordinates. If I just zoom slightly a bit, you will see that we are having these coordinates, and if I rotate, you'll notice that they are always oriented towards me. Now, there is one feature that controls this behavior, and it's in the dimensions. So what we can do, we can either show them as, for example, medium, large, small, and so on. Let's pick large as a fixed size, and let's use dynamic dimension labeling. So what it means, whenever you zoom out, they will try to keep and stay same size, always, no matter how much you zoom out. It's not always precise, but it works in most of the cases. And basically, I'm trying to tell you, keep this one on. You will easier spot them. Okay, so let's use the point coordinates again. Let's pick these ones. And don't worry about the different size. As soon as we refresh the view by rotating, zooming, panning, anything, they will get equal size. Okay, and the point coordinates here, for example, let's say that we care about this particular coordinate. I will try to kind of zoom out a bit, and they are shown here. Okay, so what we can do, maybe this time we can go to dimensions, turn off, use small, turn on, and maybe zoom in a bit to kind of see more clearly. But yeah, maybe they're this close, and you can find out your preferences. Of course, this is a very small in terms of size model, but what I would try to show you again, few more points, is that we can measure distance between 2 points. I have no idea did I click, so I will click again. Measure 2-point distance. Okay, so what we can do, for example, we can measure from here to, I don't know, let's say that this is some interesting information here. So if you rotate, you will see that line is in 3D, but the text is always kind of following where we are with the camera. And let's see to the other two. For example, this one, edge length, is a very useful. Let's measure this distance here. So we see that literally roof length is like, I don't know, this size. And also the last one, but you get the point. Select first edge, then point, and you will get a difference. Maybe we can do that one also. So this is edge, and let's select this edge to this distance. I want to show you this example because it's a very interesting one. For example, we selected this edge, but this point. You see how it, with green line, it extended temporarily, visually, to show you where they are actually closest, on which point they are actually closest, and put the value. So what we can do, we can go to these preferences, and the length units, they can be meters, feet, inches, whichever you like. So this time let's show in meters, and we see that we are in meters now, so 19.5 meters, of course in foot, inches, and so on. So you can change the units. By default, DiStellar will always look into inside the IFC model what are units set there by default, okay, and it will use those. So if you have a model with imperial unit system, chances are by default it will show you either foot or inches and so on. But you can always change. That's the interesting part. And few more things to show you, and possibly some of the last. If I combine, I see dimensions here. If I combine them with a section plane, for those, you see how they are staying here. Okay. And as long as their geometry that they are referencing is visible, untouched, they will show dimensions. But for those that geometry is not visible, they will not be shown. But as soon as I extend up, they will show up. So that's one interesting thing, because sometimes you want to combine these section planes and measure things and so on, and you don't want to see the dimensions that are measuring invisible quote-unquote geometry, right? So hope you like. Stellar is a free product, starts free. Soon DiRoots will announce our own open beam journey. How do we want to approach with Stellar, what directions we will pick, and it's all for the best of community. We are investing in having servers up and running to support everybody, yet again create a free web product for everybody to use and so on. What you can do to help us is basically the most important point is to provide us feedback. Feedback in a sense of what some, first of all, undesired effects, because this is a public beta, and one of the points of beta is to see, okay, with our users, how they feel the tool is still, working properly, what other things we should consider. Probably there are some small features that adds a lot of value, so we can add them almost immediately and enrich the ecosystem of tools here in Stellar. These features that we show you here is a, I would say not a basic, but pretty advanced IFC Viewer with some data management with through Excel file and so on. But it's just a starting point. Okay, keep that always in mind. And you know us, same as DiRoots 1, it started small, it grew and become huge. And we hope that this Stellar will be same. So thank you for watching these videos. Provide the feedback. Stay close to us. We are always close to you. And let's have a best possible IFC Viewer editor on the market. And the best part, that it will be free. Okay, see you. Bye.